Hi, everybody. So we're here today for the best and holiest of all purposes. There's nothing like Tehillim. You could ask, why are people so drawn to it, especially since some of the program are difficult if you don't know the language well. So I want to talk to you very briefly about what Tehillim means to me, and then I'll tell you a short story. So when I was young, I was with Lubavitch, and in those days, I imagine it's still done now, on Shabbat Mevarchim, the week before they would say the special blessing for the new moon, the people who were serious would say the whole book of Tehillim. So I remember sitting in the kitchen with my Rebbetzin and saying the whole book of Tehillim. Maybe I understood a quarter, probably not as much as that. But there was still something in the words that drew me towards them. And I couldn't put it into words, for sure not. Later I learned that the Tehillim were put together by David Hamelech. Not all of them were written by him. As you know, there's one that says Tfilah Moshe, there's more Asaf. But he put them together with Ruach HaKodesh, with an inspired, holy, connected place within him. Who was David Hamelech? David Hamelech, King David, as he's called in English, was a unique person. When the world was created, the first human being was obviously the source of all future human souls. But Hashem projected this to him. He let him see what the world would be. He saw that there would be someone with enormous potential who wouldn't be given life. He said, give him 70 years of my life. This was David. So Adam was a universal soul. He had the traits and the possibilities of every future human being. So did David. So when you study his life, you see he went through what every possible experience is: wealth, poverty, health, illness, being extraordinarily beloved by people in his life, being hated, being betrayed, extraordinary loyalty, everything you can imagine. So Tehillim is a way of reading yourself into this universal soul, feeling your own need, your own desire for attachment to Hashem. When you say, Tzama lecha nafshi, my soul thirsts for you. Feeling your own moments of despair. As we say sometimes, Hashem biyom tzara, you'll answer the day of suffering. Mima amakim, from the deepest places I call out to you. Your moments of great joy. Hodu Hashem ki tov. So you could learn to address Hashem with every aspect of your being. So because of this, Tehillim has power even if you don't fully understand the words. They're touching the most human and connected part of you. So as you know, different people had different traits. Avram was known for his chesed. David's trait was malchut, being able to let Hashem rule. He could let Hashem rule in every moment, even in his worst moments, when you see in Tehillim Nun Aleph 51, when he had failed a test, he still brought Hashem there. So this is what Tehillim means to me. So I want to tell you a short story. I had a friend years ago, I've lost track of her to some degree, I see her very rarely now, who lived in the neighborhood. Her life was not easy. She was divorced, she had a child. Her husband was not there for her financially. And when the child was young, things went more or less okay. But then when he reached his teens, things began going crazy. He had absolutely he didn't listen to her at all. So she was very close to one of the rabbis who said the child's problem was he had no stability in his life. Because you have a little rented apartment, in those days it was very hard to get a long-term lease, you move every year or so. He's in school this year and he has these friends. Next year he's in a different school with different friends. So she heard him say, but Rabbi, what should I do? What should I do? My friend was a convert to Judaism. Her family wasn't Jewish. They're not going to support me here in Israel. What should I do? He said, this time plead with your family. This is a universal thing. You have a child, you need his stability. Beg them to help you so that you could put a down payment even in the worst apartment. As long as it's someplace where you could live in one place, at least for his high school career. So she did it. And she got a sum from her family. which was very difficult for her to request. And she looked around till she found a small apartment on a high floor without a view, all of the things that would make its price less. Now in Israel, mortgages are given in accordance to need. So if let's say a single parent would get, let's say 5 points, while a married person would get 1 point. So here she is single, alone, a child, below the poverty level. So they gave her the sufficient amount of points to get a large mortgage that would cover the difference between the sum she had and the sum that the apartment cost. Now, before you actually get the keys to the apartment, the mortgage has to go through. And in that gap moment where you want the apartment and you told them, you put something down, and the mortgage comes through, you have to sign a document obligating yourself to buy the apartment. Okay. Did I know any of this? No, I'm not that close. But I saw her in the bank. I didn't know any of this. She went to the bank. She approached the person in charge, the vice president in charge, and she thought she just had to sign a few papers and the mortgage would go through because that's what they told her. And he says, I'm so sorry. I'm making up her name. This is not her name. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Kovac. We thought you had 17 points, which would allow a mortgage of this side, but we counted it over and you only have 14 points. We can give you a mortgage, but it's considerably smaller. She's a very refined person. She's not the kind who would like bang on the table and demand to see the manager. And, she was this kind, I thought when I saw her, I thought she was going to die. She was white as chalk. Tears are coming down her face. She was trembling. She didn't know what to do. She went to her Rav. She said, what am I going to do? I'll have to pay this big fine for having signed the initial payment document, and I'll have nothing. And I can't ask my family for more money. They're not going to give me anything. They'll think I'm so stupid. They'll think I'm an idiot. They'll think I ruined my life again. Here, the rabbi said, and this is the important part of the story for you, said, you did everything you can. Now say Tehillim. Now say Tehillim. So she did. She spent the whole night saying Tehillim. The next day, she felt more courageous. She's in HaShem's hands. Whatever he does is right. So she didn't come into the bank trembling and white. She came in with dignity. And she said, I misunderstood how much money I was supposed to get. I would like to clear whatever sum that there is. I'm going to have to close by account with the seller. And she had her speech prepared, but the person wasn't there. The original vice president who had told her she should get 17 points was there. And he says, I'm so sorry, madam. I'm sorry, my assistant made a terrible mistake. You have all of the money waiting for you. So she went back and told her Rav. And her Rav said, you have to tell this story. This is a story you have to tell. Now, there's a sequel to this story. And when we begin our series, I'm going to talk to you about saying Tehillim to get a good and sweet year. I'm going to tell you the sequel, but I'll just give you a taste of it now. The Rav said to her, everyone has a story. This is your story. You have to tell the story. So she was feeling very courageous. So she said to him, Rebbe, what's your story? So his story and its relationship to her story. His story took place over 70 years ago. I'm going to tell you next time. In the meantime, enjoy this wonderful series and put your heart into the Tehillim. This is the right time. This is Ellul.